Thank you for joining us this wonderful Monday, June 22nd. We are thankful to have all of you here with us today for the ACA Small Business Bootcamp and Resource Collective. I am Robert Theobald, the Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services for the Arizona Commerce Authority. We've got a great bootcamp session today. We want to first start by thanking our community partners. This bootcamp would not be possible without their support and help with this, so thank you very much. A quick recap: the Small Business Bootcamp and Resource Collective was designed to help small businesses with 20 or fewer employees work through the COVID crisis and return stronger than ever. It's a statewide initiative supported by all of our community partners, those listed on a previous slide, and many others. And it's a daily boot camp. We're going to extend it with the extension, with the way that the crisis is going. We're going to actually continue through July with additional resources and boot camp sessions. You can find the boot camp on our website here. We've got the webinars are Monday through Friday. Includes things like PPP, guidance, marketing, many great resources. We also have our Resource Collective, which provides additional statewide resources to help small businesses as they return stronger. So this week's topics: today we have top 6 workplace safety guidelines. Tuesday is Target's best tips for navigating a reopen. Wednesday is navigating online orders in the food industry. Thursday is boost sales, or how to boost sales and expand your client base. And Friday is grow your business with eBay. Great marketing session there. So some quick updates. Excuse me. Now you see down at the bottom of this slide is the big update, the big reminder. PPP loan program ends June 30th. That is coming very quickly, and many banks may not take applications after the end of this week, just to make sure that they have time to process everything before that deadline. So be mindful of that. If you are still working on a PPP loan and your lender is not being very responsive, time is getting short. So let us know and we can try to help find another lender that can respond to your needs. With some updated numbers, as of June 20th, the PPP and EIDL loans combined have provided 102,000 loans to small businesses in Arizona with over $10 billion. So great numbers there. Excited to see that. And there's still plenty of PPP funds remaining as of June 20th. Also a reminder to leverage the other small business or other ACA programs and services. We have a small business services. We can help you with navigating the small business administration and small business development centers. Our workforce team can help you as an employer working to find employees. And our Arizona MEP, our manufacturing extension partnership, is there to help all the manufacturers out there. Excuse me. So just a reminder, check out the Arizona Together website for additional COVID-19 information and resources, the state site there. And we have our guides and resources page with links to the various guides that are available to help your business as you are reopening, returning to work, navigating through the coronavirus, whether you're construction, retail, salon, restaurant. There's plenty of information we have available to help you navigate this time. You can also go to our website, azcommerce.com, COVID-19, for all the Arizona business resources that are available, from webinars to workforce, etc. It's a great website that we keep updated daily. So today's speaker is Brian Carney from Cushman Wakefield. He's the managing principal there. He's put together a great little presentation for us today. We're excited to have him here, and I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share and let him share his screen so we can get started. So Brian, it's all yours.
Okay, let me figure out the technology here. Okay, Robert, do you see the big screen or do you see the presenting side?
We got the big screen. We are good to go.
Okay. Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. I am working from home today. Happy to be here. What's interesting is that we have a delivery scheduled from our house from 9 to noon, and of course, they just walked in and arrived. So if you hear dogs barking, that's part of what it's like to be working from home. But so I'm with Cushman Wakefield. We are a global real estate services company. We are in. We have 400 offices in 60 countries. We're over 52,000 people. We're a public company. It's a big company. And so when this COVID-19 situation started, Cushman Wakefield put together a global task force. And it was to work on what we call as the safe, let's see here, I got to get on the right page to advance the slide. Bear with me. Okay, we put together the Safe 6, and it was a workplace readiness essentials. This presentation is what we use when we're consulting our clients across the world. It's mostly geared to office users, but I think for each of you, whether you own a retail business or a manufacturing or assembly or a small company in a big office building, hopefully some of these things I'm going to share with you today will help you in getting back to work. Some of you maybe never have closed. Some of you have been working remotely. So we'll go through these 6 steps and hopefully it'll help you. So the first, here's the 6 listed. It's preparing the building, prepare the workforce, controlling access, creating a social distancing plan, reduce touch points and increasing cleaning, and communicate with confidence. So the first topic we'll touch on here is prepare the building. So if you own a building and you occupy it, then clearly you run your own show there. If you own a building and maybe only occupy part of it and lease it to other tenants, this might be helpful for you. And then if you're a tenant that's in any kind size of building, this is what you should expect from your landlord. So it's vital that safety and health of your people is the primary concern. So when we were working with our landlord, so we're located at the Esplanade at 24th and Camelback, and we worked with our landlord to prepare the building. We moved back. We left at about the 3rd week in March, and moved in. Moved back. There's my mover. So we moved back in 2 weeks ago. And it's been quite a journey. So what I want to share with you is here's how to prepare the building. You can see some of the topics we put on. Review plans with your owner and make sure that they're ready for your reentry. Part of this commuting, and it isn't so much in Phoenix, coming back to the office. It is not only getting from your home to the office building, but then it's getting from the parking garage up to your office space. And so it's quite an undertaking with the cleaning and preparation to allow tenants back in the building. Secondly, what was really important to us was preparing the workforce. We worked for probably 2 or 3 weeks on developing and executing a detailed plan on returning to work. Things we have learned in the last 2 weeks, we did implement alternate work days between working from home and coming into the office. We staggered their arrival times and really had a soft opening because we had a safety kit for them that included masks and sanitizing supplies and different things like that. And then we worked with all our different teams. So my office is about 220 people. There's probably 85 that are brokers. The balance are in property management or construction management, appraisal. So we have 4 or 5 different business units and a lot of different personalities. And leading up to our return, we did a series of surveys. And we found out that about 30% of our office, the people in our office, really had no desire to come back into the office building while COVID was still in existence. 30% were fearless, felt like, at some level it wasn't real. Now, granted, these surveys were done a couple months ago, and they were willing, ready to get back to work right away. And the other 40%, I would say, were mixed. They wanted to know is the environment safe? Have we taken the right precautions? Will my coworkers respect and be mindful of my fears and my concerns on this whole thing? And so we worked really hard on that. And so right now, we out of 220 people, we're only allowing 50 people in the office at any one day. And so we've established a reservation system, similar to like if you were signing up for a tea time or Pilates or yoga. You have ability to reserve a spot, cancel your spot, and go from there. So as you can see, we wanted to prepare the workforce so that they felt that there was a safe environment for their return. Next, we work with the landlord to control access. We are not allowing any clients into our building right now. We did reconfigure our lobby. We closed, we have sanitizers and wipes everywhere. We got rid of a lot of touch points. The elevators entering our space can only accommodate 3 people at any one time. And so we spent a lot of money and time on signage and protocols, floor markings, one-way walkways, and different things to keep people safe. 50 people in 35,000 feet is a great start to a social distancing. When I'm in the office and I walk around, we have everybody spread out and they are not in contact with each other at this time. Here's the social distancing slide. We don't allow them to share small rooms. We've converted them to single occupancy. We monitor the space usage. We've redesigned different areas. We've removed chairs from conference rooms. And as I mentioned, we've limited the amount of people. So prior to this, we had about 155 square feet per person. Now we're up to about 700 square feet per person. So it's gone a long way to help make people feel safe and comfortable. As I mentioned, the sanitation areas, removing touch points. We do a nice job every night. Everybody has an assigned office, we're a cube world. So everybody has their own cube, their own area, workstations. And so those are cleaned every night. We've invested a lot of money on the cleaning and as our landlord to make sure that every day we start. So we don't share spaces. We're not hoteling offices. The same people come to the same place every day. We've limited meetings. This has been a little difficult in our culture. People like to be connected. We've had a series of webinars, virtual town halls, virtual happy hours, all those things you can imagine to keep people connected. Looking here. So really this is just about the increased cleaning protocols we've put into place. The communication has been so key. As I mentioned, everybody has a personal view on this whole pandemic. Everybody has a different view. Everybody has different feelings. And so we've tried to be, accommodating and thoughtful and mindful for each of our people. They are the most important. So as I mentioned, through town halls, through webinars, when it started, so I have 85 brokers, I talked to each one of them individually. It was like a speed dating exercise for 15 minutes, about every week to 10 days, just to touch in, see how they're doing. Are they healthy? How can we help them with their business? And so it went a long way to keeping us connected during this time. Culture is really important. I think that's probably when you talk to people, that is what they miss the most, is the collaboration and being around people. So I think for all of you that are business owners and have small businesses, I think most of your people may have to come to the office or to your place of business to do the job. That is not the case with us, but I would encourage you to over communicate and make them feel safe in their environment. Just a little bit about working from home or working remotely. Cushman Wakefield is putting together a study. They surveyed over 50,000 people, which were our employees and clients, and have found some interesting trends. We have found that the millennial group or the Generation Z have struggled the most, which would be contrary to what you would think. They miss that. And the biggest reason why they've struggled the most is that in many ways they're caregivers for young children. They don't have the space where they live to have a an office area that can limit distractions. And so it's been difficult for them. I've enjoyed, quite frankly, being able to have some flexibility and work from home. When you manage so many people day to day, it's a people business. And so for me, it's allowed me to be away and get some of the projects done. But for working from home, just what's interesting and what CEOs are finding in this exercise, if you look at the list of these countries or cities, excuse me, you can see in there's Chicago and Boston and New York and Los Angeles. The commute hours are incredible. It's about 18 work days when you combine how many hours they're commuting. I think Phoenix is slightly less, but when you consider people getting up, getting ready, getting in their car or mass transportation to get to the office, CEOs are finding that maybe offering a more flexible remote workspace for those people that can do their job from home will be beneficial. They have found that the productivity has increased significantly during this time. During this pandemic, you can see prior in early March in the lower left-hand part of this chart, the percentage was low, but over time and where we are, later in the cycle, it had reached 60% of the people were working remotely at least part of the time. We think that, in 2021, that 25 to 30% of the workforce will be working either from home or remotely. And it could trend up as much as 40%. As we move on. As you can see, as I was mentioning, the long-term potential of people working from home. The United States is the fifth one from the bottom, and you can see it could be in excess of 40% where people could be working from home in the future. And so what this does is it changes the real estate requirements. In our business, we lease space, we sell buildings, we manage buildings. We manage close to 30 million feet here in Phoenix, different of industrial, office, retail, apartments. And so, in these surveys, we're finding out that, most of the companies, 94% of them feel like we're going to bring everybody back to the office. But there is, 10% of them that already believe that they're going to ultimately need more or less space. And so that'll, obviously increase vacancies. It could lower lease rates. This isn't going to be a typical real estate recovery where you see, job growth turns into leasing more space, turns into managing more properties, turns into, rental rates going up. We think there's going to be a slight reset here, both in rental rates and then how much space people occupy. But it is kind of a yin and the yang because, yes, less people in each of your offices will be working in the office, but you'll have to create, physical distancing opportunities for them. So in essence, it could be closer to a wash. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Some of the things that we've gone through and what some of the concerns are. I think one thing I will say, with all this planning, all the cleaning, working with your landlord, reducing touch points, social distancing, you still have the people element and their psyche and how they react to these things, and not necessarily does everybody want to follow rules, do they believe in the rules. So I've become a little bit of a hall monitor, trying to reach out to them and make them understand that it's not just about them, and that they're with a collective group, and there are people around them that are concerned and about their health and welfare. So with that, I'll just open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Brian, for sharing those slides and that information. Again, at the bottom of the screen, you have the Q&A button, or you can post your questions in the chat box. So, Brian, one of the things we're also hearing when it comes to real estate is just working is, I've been closed for a couple of months and my landlord is just on me about making sure having to pay 2 months of rent with no income for 2 months.
Right.
What are some suggestions that people can do?
Well, early on, especially when people didn't know how long they were going to be closed, we did encourage, and I even met with the governor, we encouraged a communication between the business owner and the landlord, and in many cases the lender, because if the landlord is still having to make his loan payment, it was more difficult for him to be sympathetic and work with the tenant. I think early on, and maybe people on this call will disagree, but we felt that early on, at least in the the March, April, May, I think landlords were open and flexible. They did they renegotiated leases. They did rent deferments. Some did rent abatements. Some extended the lease or added the rent that they didn't pay in those 3 months to the back end. It feels like in our surveys lately, and the clients we talked to, that the rent is being paid by most. I think retail was probably the most impacted. Industrial has been the least impacted. And I think, the rent collections for apartments, I think Phoenix has led the nation in collections. So people have used their stimulus check to actually, pay their rent obligations. But I would just encourage, if you're still having issues, to sit down. You can't run away from it. Meet with your landlord, and see if you can't work something out to get through this time. Hopefully that we won't have another setback. I know things have gotten a little more strict with the face mask protocols, but hopefully businesses can stay open and begin their slow climb out. We don't feel that this will be a quick recovery. There were different theories early that it was a V recovery. And I'm talking about comparing the US GDP pre-COVID to when will it get back to that level. And right now we're more thinking it's 22 into 23. So this will be a slow recovery. Obviously businesses will change. Retail will evolve. Obviously, logistics and e-commerce is thriving, and people's shopping behaviors are changing. This time frame has been just a significant acceleration of technology and the way people want to work. I heard one great quote that says, people won't be going to work, the work will be with the worker. So I think you're also going to see people not necessarily want to live in the city anymore. Maybe, we think there'll be a strong resurgence of suburban office, where people can live in the suburbs, work remotely or commute, or their office building closer to them. So things are not going to be the same. We just have to figure out how to navigate and prepare for the future.
Okay. We got a few more questions popping here. It says, are you providing PPE for those that come into the office for work?
Well, yeah, we have mask and sanitation equipment and cleaning for them. Is that what they're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the protocols and the 6-foot distancing. So yes, we gave them a little kit when they came in, and we feel really good about the number of people we've limited access to. We feel good about the supplies that we've provided them. We feel good about the social distancing. We've closed down the common areas. We don't have any food or water or beverage service. So it's really stripped down. There's conference rooms, as I mentioned, that are closed. We have one-way walkways, so people follow, and there's stickers and signs everywhere. So we are following all the guidelines that have been put out by the government.
What's in the kit that you gave the employees that are working in the office?
Well, it was sanitation or sanitizers. It was masks. It was directions on the rules. It was a list of there was a list of like 5 or 6 things that you had to do to be working in the office. And other than that, my team handled most of that. I don't know exactly what we did. What I can tell you is that we staggered their start days. So what we have right now is we have a Monday, Wednesday group that comes in, and there's about 50 people, and then they can cancel and other people can reserve a spot. And then there's a Tuesday, Thursday group. And then Fridays, it's pretty open, up to 50 people. It's a reservation system. But what we did on the Monday, Wednesday group, we put on a Wednesday, And we had them different staggered times. People came in at 7:38, 8:39, 9:30. And so it gave us time to orientate them, gave them a tour of the office, gave them their kit, and just encourage them to wash their hands, stay away from people, wear their mask. We allowed them to take their mask off in their cube area, obviously when they're on the phone. But the minute they got up from their desk and moved anywhere in the office, whether to the restroom or to leave the building or to the copy machine or whatever, they were required to put their mask on.
Okay. And then that same person asked, are you taking temperatures for those coming to work?
We are not. Cushman Wakefield has decided not to take temperatures. We have an app that when you log into your computer, it asks you, about all the different symptoms, and you have to tell before you can work on any of your, open up your computer if you're feeling sick and then or not, and if you are, then you are asked to leave. We do have a room that if someone arrives sick, we can isolate them and then take the precautions to get them out of the building. We've had, I think, a couple of cases in the building, so we're very mindful of it. We have no cases with anybody that works for our office here in Phoenix that I'm aware of.
Okay, another question is, would it be reasonable to ask for accommodations for requests to improve your home office from your employer?
Well, I've heard different things. I think it would be a reasonable request. I think some companies have delivered monitors to homes. We allowed people to take some of their equipment with them. It was measured though. Some had back issues, so we have some of these stand-up desks that are adjustable. A couple of them took those home with them. Multiple monitors. We've obviously have a pretty sophisticated intranet, and so people can access all their documents on these shared drives we have. So no, but to answer your question, I think that me personally, and my leadership style is I've been open to everything, and allowing people to feel comfortable. And so if there's anything we can do to accommodate a person who wants or needs help with that to make their life at home, their work life at home better, we're all on board for doing that.
Okay. What do you recommend from an HR/office management position trying to implement compliance if you're finding you have pushback from others in the office or even owners and leadership?
Yeah, that is a great question. This is an experiment in process. I would say we are fortunate enough to have 95% that are complying and following all the rules. We have a couple people that are defiant. Our first step was that we talked to them, and then we gave them one more chance, and then we've asked them no longer. There's been a couple that we've asked to no longer come into the office because they're causing concern of our other people. So it's difficult conversations. People don't like to hear that, especially some of the people that work in my office are strong-willed and feel like they run their own show, and so, but it's a delicate situation. But you have to default to the greater good and the people, all the people that work in your office. Most of our people that have been the most sensitive or maybe at risk due to different health factors, they have elected to stay home. So we have reduced the population that wants to come into the office significantly.
What suggestions would you give to a small business owner that's renting or leasing space in a business office, and that office management, property management team isn't following guidelines?
Oh my goodness. Well, then you should tell the landlord to hire Cushman Wakefield. I mean, I think that, and I'm just kidding, but our people in our asset services group, our property management group, have really been on the forefront of all this and have really worked with the landlords to understand and make these buildings safe for people to enter. I would say that most office buildings probably are not over 20 to 25% occupied right now. That may be different in the building that some of you are in, but I think people are staying within those strict protocols, but I think it's essential. I think you need to call your landlord direct. I don't know who else you could complain to if they're not providing a safe environment. But anybody wants to reach out to me, I can direct you to our asset services group, and they're right there on the ground every day, and they can maybe help you with some suggestions about how can I make this a more safer environment for me. But dialogue and communication, and I wouldn't just sit back and be a silent sufferer, for sure.
Okay. Mark, do you have any questions for Brian?
I do. Thanks, Brian. I was just wondering around the communications piece. So we're now in June. Effective leaders have been kind of giving consistent updates and communications since March. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering kind of what the cadence of that should look like if people are getting frustrated with all the updates, if people are still asking and demanding kind of more information, and what that right level of communication looks like.
Well, I try to stay ahead of it. I think we have done a nice job of pounding home these principles. And so I think our cadence has worked. Early on, we did have town halls, as I mentioned. We had one-on-one conversations, but now that they've come back to the office, it's been a little easier. I think you just need to, depend on the size of your company, over-communicating is probably a good thing. We do it through email, we do it through webcasts, and if they choose not to read them anymore or participate in the calls, then I guess so be it. But I think that you have to continue the messaging because it's evolving every day. We don't think we'll increase from 25% occupancy, as maybe even to the end of the year, especially in Arizona where all these cases continue to rise. It's very concerning to us, and right now 50 people is manageable. I think the time of year is beneficial for companies too, because vacations will start July 1, and a lot of people will be gone over that period of time for about the next 6 weeks till school starts or whatever school looks like in the future. So I just think that when we have new messaging, we always tend to get it out there. When we have updates from our global task force, like I'm required now today to take another workplace training session, and they'll reinforce all the rules, and that's been given to us. There'll be a link from our global HR group. So more is better, I guess.
Thanks. And you also touched upon kind of global trends, US trends from work remote and kind of space requirements. I'm curious what you're seeing for Arizona. I know I've read articles about how New York rent prices are dropping for businesses, for apartments. If that's an effect that you think we'll start to see here in Arizona, and not necessarily renegotiating a lease, but if your space contract is kind of coming up soon, is that a conversation that you can be having?
Yes, of course. I think, we're involved in those negotiations all the time, whether it's a renewal or a client moving. That's our business. We help occupiers relocate. We help investors of buildings, manage and lease their building. We have our office agency leasing group, the people that have handled the landlord side. We have almost 20 million square feet. So we're very aware of the tenant demand currently, and what it's doing. And so I think, what's interesting about commercial real estate is that it's building by building, owner by owner, lender by lender, makes a difference. And so depending on the situation of the landlord, how vacant his building is, or what kind of tenant mix he has, they may be more flexible in their lease. They may look to discount to keep people there. Some may not. I can't make a universal statement on the whole industry as a whole. Some of these Class A new buildings are probably going to hold the line because there's a lot of demand for them, even though the demand in the market is down. I think we're still, from both, I think occupiers or tenants or small companies, kind of a wait and see situation. When the pandemic hit, I would use this as kind of a baseline. So let's say every one of my brokers had about 10 deals in process at one stage or another, whether it was a tour or letter of intent, or they were getting ready to sign a lease, or the building was in escrow, whatever. if they had 10, 3 of them finished. They happened, they were far enough down the lawn. It was a strategic plan of the occupier. They needed the space. Where they were wasn't working, whatever. Then I would say 3 or so died immediately. The deals were dead. Everybody said, whoa, I'm not doing that deal. It's ridiculous. Because part of it was maybe I can buy that building in 6 months for less. And then the middle 60% or 40%, I'm sorry, was wait and see. We're not going to kill this deal, but we need to think about it. And that's where we saw short-term extensions. Landlords were willing to work with the tenant at the time if their lease was up in a year to move that out to maybe 18 months so we could kind of get through this and then see where they're going. But once again, it'll be demand-driven. My guess is, over time, some companies will just, that are doing well and powering through this time will need more space, hire more people, manufacture more goods, sell more goods, and so they'll do fine. That some businesses will change and maybe shrink, and when they shrink, they can, or change, they can renegotiate their lease. But I would encourage people that their leases are coming up in the next 6 months that they should start having a dialogue. They should, engage a broker or a consultant or somebody to engage in a dialogue with the landlord about either staying or your possible move.
Got it. Thank you. Well, I think those are the questions I had.
Okay.
I don't know if there are any others from our participants on the line.
Well, once again, people can reach out to me. I think we'll follow up with some of these slides. But you can reach me. My name's Brian Carney, and you can reach me at the Cushman Wakefield office here in Phoenix, and I'm happy to direct you to any service line or person that could help you with your business and kind of help navigate through this, these tough times. But I would encourage communication. I would encourage asking questions. I would encourage making sure that your workforce is safe and secure, and that they have an open dialogue with you, and then we just all get through this together.
Excellent, Brian. Thanks for those last comments. We appreciate you being on today and sharing those and answering the questions that we had from the panel. Last call out as we wrap up. If anybody has any other questions, please throw those in the Q&A. But we appreciate the time, appreciate the comments, Brian. Been very good, and we're glad to have you here and helping out with the boot camp. Just a reminder for those, we have tomorrow's session with Target. They've developed some stuff they're going to share that is designed for small businesses to help small business owners, and some resources that they've developed for small businesses. So it's going to be a great presentation as well. So if we don't have any other questions from the attendees, we will go ahead and wrap up this session a little early. Let you guys gain back a few minutes of your day. But again, we appreciate Brian and Cushman Wakefield for sharing this presentation today. And we look forward to talking and seeing everybody tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.